All right, we just finished watching Daredevil Born Again episode 4. What are my thoughts? As far as the episodes go, I would say I would rank this one at the bottom so far, and that's not to say it was a bad episode. Um I would rank it at the very bottom of the 4 episodes that we've seen thus far. There was a lot of setup in this one. You kicked off the episode with Hector Ayala's niece, sort of building a case for her eventually turning into White Tiger. And she had a meeting with Matt, or she ran into Matt, I should say. And Matt sort of protected her by not allowing her to see her uncle after he's been killed. And basically just the little seeds were being dropped right there to show that she has that anger in her, man. Like, that was the thing that I took from that scene, was that she was angry, she was upset. And I feel as though as she gets older, she's definitely going to want to put that white tiger suit on for herself and go and do continue her father's, or I'm sorry, her uncle's legacy. After that, what did we have? We had a little bit of the therapy scene between Vanessa and Wilson. Um, those scenes are interesting. I guess it shows the distance that they have between each other, the continued distance that they have between each other. It seems as though Vanessa is, or at least she said she isn't afraid of Wilson, and basically Wilson told her that she doesn't have anything to be afraid of as far as he's concerned. But whenever you have something like that happen, that instantly makes me think like, ah, nah, she should be afraid of this guy. And I think that as soon as Wilson realizes that she's more trouble than she's worth, he's gonna be able to separate that person and be able to get her pretty much out of his life. Whether that's the metaphorically or actually physically out of his life too. So yeah, I thought that was interesting. I feel like Vanessa is a bit a bit bold and a bit boastful too. Like, she's a little too overconfident. That's the word I'm looking for. A little too overconfident. Like, does she understand the man and the monster that she's dealing with? I don't know that for sure. After that, the other key thing that we had in here was oh man, James Gandolfini's son. I can't think of his name at this point, but he basically gave some information to some people that ended up leaking a report out about Wilson Fisk and saying that he was a union buster. So Wilson got very upset by this, wanted to figure out who the leak was. James Gandolfini's son came up and said, "Hey, it was me." Um, and basically said that, like, hey, you know what, I messed up, I know that I messed up, but you have somebody who is willing to give and do whatever for you at this point. And basically Wilson took him up on his offer and said, like, all right, man, like, I'm gonna forgive you this one time, but it will never happen again. And that sounds like a threat, and he should take it as a threat. So if you're going to stay on and stick around, you're going to have to be on point, and you're going to have to do everything that this man asks you to do. Seattle Ryan, who is one of our day ones in the chat, when we were watching the episode, said that it reminded him of the way the Penguin show, how I can't think of the young man's name, who was his sort of his lackey, who was his, like, his assistant. And we saw how that ended up going for him, and that he ended up getting killed at the end of the show. So yeah, it was interesting to see that Wilson was able to, quote unquote, forgive him, but you know that that's going to come at a huge price. As the episode continued on, we got a guy who had stolen some fiddle faddle, some caramel popcorn from a store, and Matt was basically able to get him 10 days in jail. After those 10 days were served, he'd be able to go free. But basically, the guy told Matt that, these 10 days, it destroys his life every time he has to go to prison. I mean, I look at it like, yo, you shouldn't have stole the stuff. But then he laid out the reasoning behind it, that, he's starving, he has to go beg for whatever he can get. when he goes into prison or when he goes to jail, he ends up losing his benefits that he had gained for, so he has to reapply for those, and every time they come back less. So basically they just made Matt think, I can understand that. Being a realist though, I'm like, dude, just don't steal fiddle faddle or whatever, your caramel popcorn. You're gonna have to figure out something else. But yeah, it was definitely a way to make Matt move down the road of donning the Daredevil suit again. As we saw, he got closer and closer to that as the episode went on. As the little screen cap over here shows, we had Punisher make an appearance. He definitely said that it wasn't him, and Matt knows that it wasn't him, but it was the police officers who are using his symbol. Basically, the Punisher almost served as a therapist for Matt and saying that, Matt hasn't forgiven himself for Foggy passing away, and that he has a lot of stuff that he needs to deal with. And the Punisher was basically saying that, hey, like, I hear my son's voice every time I do something, saying that, you need to go out and get these guys. So it was nice to see him show up on the show again. And we know that moving forward, he's going to play a big role and a big part in this show. And then as we got closer to the end of the episode, we had Matt meeting up with his girlfriend. I believe her name is Heather. I struggle with names on these shows all the time, but I believe her name is Heather. And basically he came home and Heather was there. He felt, or Heather was worried about him. And that, I think, was another thing that pushed Matt towards getting closer and closer to going back to his Daredevil days, in that he knows that he's going to have to be out there to protect her. He said that he's getting used to coming home to her every day. So that's dangerous in and of itself. Matt does not know that she is meeting with Wilson Fisk. So when he finds that out, oh man, it's going to be a problem. And once Wilson finds out that they're dating, I'm sure that's going to turn into an issue. Then we pretty much ended the episode with showing the dichotomy and the two sides to the same coin that Matt and Wilson Fisk are at this point, in that Wilson Fisk had someone in a cage basically punishing them, and eating some pasta and some sausage, which is a heavy meal. It's not exactly like what he was eating in the last few episodes, where he was eating like looked like a soft boiled egg with a sprig of asparagus. Like, gross. But it just shows that he's returning to form and returning to his old Kingpin days, not so much Mayor Fisk. And then you had Daredevil going and looking at his helmets, pulled out his billy clubs, and was on the rooftop sort of practicing his skills. So yeah, they're both getting closer and closer to returning to who they truly are. So I'm interested in that, and I can't wait to see how that turns out. And then we ended the episode with Muse carrying a guy to his lair, and looked like he was draining the blood out of someone else, and there were some people hanging up in the corner. So like, yeah, man, it's a serious one. It's a serious one. And I can't wait till we get more and more Muse and can actually see some of the brutality with him that we have not seen thus far. So yeah, it was a good episode. If I had to give it on my 5-point scale, with 5 being the greatest thing ever, 0 being the worst thing we've ever seen, I would give this one a solid 3. I think the last few episodes were much better, but this one did a lot of work in moving the plot forward as far as this individual season is concerned. So yeah, I'm definitely excited to look forward to see more. If I'm not mistaken, I want to say either this episode coming up or the episode after that, there's going to be 2 episodes. So if you are watching, man, I really appreciate you for checking this out. We do live streams every Tuesday, 30 minutes before the episode comes on. And then we have a watch party while the episode's on. Join the chat. We talk about the episode while it's going down. And then I do recaps at the end, just like this. So I appreciate you for checking this episode out. Please, please, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, drop a comment below, and hit that notification bell so that you're notified each and every time we go live in 2025. I appreciate you for checking this out. My name is JD. Peace.